welcome. Take It Up with Jessica Lee. I'm here with Shadi Bucklin, who is the head of sales enablement at Zenefits. Hi, Shadi.
Hi, great to be here.
Yes, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You're now at a company that has HR and payroll mobile platform for the SMB market. It's a high growth, fast transaction kind of company. So it's a great opportunity for you to make an impact at this early stage. But you have experience that goes back to working at LinkedIn, working at Equinix. And you were a consultant helping the Deloitte company, right? So you have a ton of experience. And I wanted to invite you on the show to talk about some of the best practices, some of the weaknesses you've seen in companies that maybe spots they should look at. So Shadi, let's start with what are some of the major components when it comes to sales enablement, and then we can go into some of the specific areas that you think should be more highlighted.
Yeah, absolutely. So sales enablement, I love being in sales enablement. I didn't start my career in sales enablement. Actually, I started in human resources and recruiting, which led me to LinkedIn because I had that background and they sold talent solutions and recruiting solutions. And I was in a customer-facing role there, using my knowledge of recruiting to sell to clients, and then moved into sales enablement. But prior to that, I have also a strong training background being in HR and recruiting. I also had been training people on how to interview, how to just doing learning and development type of work. So a lot of best practices there. And in sales enablement, what I find to be some of the best practices is effective training, and effective training needs to be interactive. So there might be online component, in-person component. But there needs to be some exercises, engagement. It can't just be someone talking at you. So the training needs to be effective. The content needs to be good. So great content is super important. And especially in sales, where salespeople are super busy, getting that content to them just in time, at the right time, and the right content. And also an element that is not always looked at as important, but it's actually quite important, is coaching. So manager coaching, sales leader coaching in reinforcing the good behaviors of selling, that's a key part. You can train people as much as possible. If the managers aren't coaching to it, it's not going to become repeatable. So coaching is another key element.
Right. And I think sometimes very good sales reps get promoted to a managerial role, but they're not necessarily prepared or trained to be good coaches, right?
Exactly. And that happens quite a bit where the top sellers get promoted into management, and they're these super sellers who then they have these large teams, but they're used to winning by being involved and closing the deals themselves. So instead of coaching their reps to be effective, they're actually in there closing the deals. So they're on the same calls with the customer, but rather than listening and being kind of letting their rep take the lead and coaching them, after the call on what they could do differently, they're actually jumping in there. They're taking the lead as a seller because they're used to doing that. And I think people who've been great at selling, they can actually be great as managers, but they need to learn the coaching piece.
Okay, so coaching is an important aspect. How can these sales folks learn about coaching? Where would they get that skill?
Yeah, I think most sales enablement programs need to offer that as part of their overall, all the learning programs that they offer. So there needs to be programs for sellers, but there needs to be programs for managers as well. So they need to learn that when they get promoted into management. I know a lot of organizations have manager training, helping managers be successful, and HR offers a lot of those, what they should be doing around performance reviews, how to manage. But from a sales coaching perspective, organizations are just starting to scratch the surface on that now. So I just know some of the better companies out there that are starting to do that more and focus on that more. But it should be part of the sales enablement's charter.
Okay, so they can always have an external consulting firm maybe come in and help with the coaching, right?
And that could be part of it. It could be working with a consulting team. And a lot of times you can actually bring something in and make it more branded to what your own needs are. And if you hire the right people to run your manager coaching programs, they might have prior experience, and those could be internal sales enablement managers that have helped they've actually built coaching programs for sales coaching before, and they can come in and build that in-house. So if you hire the right person, you don't even have to hire a consulting company to do it.
Let's talk about content, because any coach, you need to have content in order to coach those reps what to do. And one area that I've noticed is making sure you have content that is in small bite size.
Yes.
So that it's easier to consume, not to learn. And then the content needs to have analytics behind it. So you actually can measure the impact of the content at a granular level.
Yes.
Then you know, okay, this content you need to invest more time, or this one you need to just scrap it. It's like then you can have intelligent decision making in investment in the content.
Absolutely. And there are good platforms out there that allow you to do that. So I think that should be part of the sales enablement strategy, is like investing in the right tools so that you can measure the impact of the content that the reps are sharing with customers, and also seeing what content is really having most impact in what stage of the sales process and helping close deals. So definitely like having a good content solution and mapping that to the CRM is huge, so that the reps can also get it at the right time, so that they don't have to go searching a lot of different places for it, because they're super busy and you want to keep things as streamlined as possible for them.
And content, often I see is like companies have silo systems, so that maybe one team is creating content and then a separate team is creating another content. And then after a while, you realize they're just overlapping content, not very efficient, right?
Yes.
So I think one best practices would be to make sure that that content that's being created can be leveraged by different teams for different audiences.
Yes.
Whether that content is for the external direct sales rep or the partner sales rep.
Exactly.
It could be even leveraged by the, marketing team, in this case, sharing that to the prospect as they're learning about product. It's middle of the funnel conversion, leveraging the same content.
Exactly.
Even customer success, sometimes I see, they take that content to use it to educate customers on upselling and cross-selling opportunities.
Absolutely.
Right?
And my team actually is now taking over enabling customer success as well. So that's a huge part of like, how do you upsell? What's the right content for them? I feel like we're really lucky at Zenefits because we're still smaller. We're still about 500 employees right now, and sales and marketing have a really close partnership. So that's been great. So I just came back actually a couple days ago from a messaging workshop that our CMO is leading, and we, the product marketing team and the senior sales leaders, we're all there, and we're really focusing on what should our go-to-market message be in 2020, and a lot of content that's going to, be produced after that. We're going to be in lockstep developing that together and rolling that out together to sales. So yeah, there needs to be a great partnership between sales and marketing to build the right content. Sales leaders can provide input during the process to make sure that content would actually work, so that it's not irrelevant content that's being built that's not going to get used. So yeah, producing the right content is super important, and then measuring it, as you mentioned.
Okay, so we cover content, we cover training and coaching. So these are some of the really key components.
Yes, and coaching is actually really interesting because some people feel like they're coaching because they're telling someone what to do. They're telling the rep, okay, now you need to go set up this call and do this. But it's not really empowering the rep to learn how to do it themselves. So coaching should be done more in a questioning way. So managers should invest time with a rep to sit down and ask the questions, to let the rep, it's kind of almost like a selling skill, like when you let the prospect talk and they realize what they're doing currently and where their pain is. Same thing with the rep when you're coaching the rep. Like, if a manager is on a call with a rep, then after the call, they can talk about like, okay, how do you think that went? What do you think, why do you think the customer said this? Getting the rep to start thinking about like, okay, what's really going on with that customer and how they should pivot in terms of their sales motion, what they should be doing. So I think this coaching piece is like the how part of it. Managers need to get right. And then obviously, as you mentioned, coaching them on the right content, all of those things are part of it too.
But how do you measure the manager's effectiveness?
Yeah. So you measure it basically, you could do surveys on the reps if they're doing it, but also There are a lot of tools out there right now where managers can do, coaching exercises at a staff meeting with their team, have some interactive stuff that they can do. And then you can measure like who's completing these and how is that impacting their quota. So there's different ways of like measuring and seeing like if the reps are doing if the managers are doing deal reviews or pipeline reviews with their reps and like what's really going on.
And do you actually monitor the coaching so that you can give feedback to the managers the way they are coaching?
Yes, you can. We're small enough, we're lucky at Zenefits, we're small enough where I'm starting to have one-on-ones with a lot of the managers on a regular basis to kind of understand what they're doing and give them coaching on what they could try differently. A lot of the managers actually come to me with challenges with their reps wanting coaching for them. So I kind of have my pulse on what's going on, but as companies grow and scale, it's really hard to do that. If you have like my last company, the management team was close to 100. It's really hard to have one-on-ones with every manager, every director, every month. So yeah, there needs to be solutions where you can kind of measure and see, are they having those conversations? Are they doing pipeline reviews? And then at my last company, for example, we had these manager coaching roundtables that we did every month, and the managers came. It was a trusted community of all the sales leaders. They came together. They shared some of the best practices they were doing with their teams. They learned from each other. So we had a learning community for them that was very interactive too.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, this has been great learning conversation. Thanks for being on the show, Shadi.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
There you have it, folks. Take it up with Jessica Lee, Shadi Bucklin from Zenefits.